Hello, everyone, and happy Friday. Well, how do we regulate our nervous system? And we need this more than ever before because of COVID and because of whatever is happening in the world. Well, that's what we wanted to bring you. Not a very interesting topic from a Friday point of view because we want to relax, but we can learn how to regulate. And that is what we are talking with Nikki. Nikki is a registered nurse as well as a holistic wellness coach. She is joining me live right now. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure coming on this platform and speaking with you guys and educating on health. So I help my clients optimize their mental, emotional, and physical health in my practice. And what I've found both professionally and personally, being someone who was diagnosed with an autoimmune condition in 2018, is that the root of all chronic disease and stress is really nervous system dysregulation. So we have an autonomic nervous system that is responsible for regulating all of our physiological processes, our heart rate, our blood pressure, our respiratory rate, our digestion. And when we have high levels of stress, we get stuck in the sympathetic response, which is known as the fight or flight response. Now, when we are in fight or flight chronically, we are not able to rest, we're not able to recover, we're not able to find a sense of peace or safety or calm within our bodies, and we're not able to digest our food even. Everything goes to survival mode, and all of our other physical processes kind of get put on the back burner. So this is where chronic inflammation happens, where chronic disease happens. So first and foremost, when I have clients come to me to optimize their health and start to reverse some of these chronic diseases and symptoms and get to the root of them, my first thing is to help you learn how to build a toolbox of really simple and accessible exercises that you can pull for throughout your day. Now, when we are thinking about regulating the nervous system, it's important to note that consistency is so important. So I always recommend that my clients pick a practice that they feel their nervous system and body shift with and start building that consistently into your day. So waking up in the morning and reaching for your favorite practice that you really feel a shift with when you practice it. And then maybe doing that at night as well. And then also throughout the day when you're feeling dysregulated or stressed. So I want to share with you guys some of the most effective and accessible in the moment practices that have helped me and my clients so much. So the first thing I like to do is, well, first I want to just briefly touch on the vagus nerve. So the vagus nerve is a nerve that runs from the brain through the throat down into the digestive tract, and it branches out into every single organ. This is a very important nerve to consider when learning how to regulate the nervous system, because when we stimulate that vagus nerve, it primes the body to enter rest and digest, or a parasympathetic state, which is the opposite of fight or flight. So things that regulate the nervous system and stimulate the vagus nerve are things like flexion and extension of the spine. So being that it runs through the neck and through the spine, I don't know if anybody is familiar with yoga, but if you have a yoga practice, I'm sure you've practiced something called cat-cow, which is where you're on all fours, you stretch your chest toward the front of the room, and then you round your spine up toward the ceiling. If you do a simple Google search of cat-cows, that's something that you can wake up in the morning and do every single day before you start your day to create opportunity for that down regulation. So cat-cows, I am being trained in something called functional yoga, and there are sequences that I guide my clients and students through that help bring an opportunity for down regulation through these flexion and extension of the spine practices. Humming and singing is a really easy one that you can practice anytime in the car, while you're driving, in between activities. The reason being is because humming and singing stimulates the vagus nerve in the throat. Shaking. So if you just get up, stand up all throughout the day, maybe every hour. I would incorporate these things while you're really looking to get a handle on your stress levels regularly. So you can set an alarm on your phone. Every hour, get up and do one of these exercises, standing and just shaking out the limbs, shaking out the body, shaking out the legs. That's a way to down regulate. And something that is so powerful for me is EFT tapping. So EFT tapping stands for Emotional Freedom Technique. Now, this has been studied, researched, and it's proven to decrease our cortisol levels. Cortisol is our stress hormone. So when we are chronically stressed and we don't have the tools to regulate, our cortisol levels are through the roof, and that creates a lot of inflammation, blood sugar irregulation issues, and gut issues, and then in turn leads to chronic disease. So EFT tapping has been proven to decrease cortisol levels and downregulate the nervous system. And that's something that you can also just do a quick Google search, EFT tapping. I also have a video on my YouTube that goes through a downregulation ritual sequence that I like to practice regularly. And it combines some vagus nerve stimulation practices and EFT tapping. So deep belly breathing. This is something that most people don't practice on an unconscious level because we have such a high level of anxiety and being stuck in this fight or flight state throughout our society that we develop these very shallow breathing patterns. And so throughout your day, when you're noticing anxiety or stress coming up for you, pause and take a deep breath and see if your shoulders rise, if you're breathing in the top of the chest, or if you're using what's called the diaphragm down here. This is your breathing muscle. So when we take a deep breath, your abdomen is supposed to expand all four sides. That is not our typical breathing pattern today because of the level of stress within our lifestyles. So pausing and shifting out of that shallow breathing pattern and taking a deep belly breath stimulates the vagus nerve, because the vagus nerve goes down into the diaphragm and into all the digestive organs. So that's a really powerful practice that you can do any and all times. No one has to even know that you're doing it. If you're feeling dysregulated or stressed, like your heart is racing, your mind is racing, just see if you can take a pause and introduce some deep belly breathing. I also have a video on my YouTube on the difference between shallow breathing and deep belly breathing and how to begin introducing that breathing pattern into the abdomen and the diaphragm. Another one that I want to mention is grounding. Now, depending on where you're at, depending on the weather, it may be difficult to go outside and put your bare feet on the earth, but there are also grounding products that we can use during winter times or colder climates. And there are different companies now that offer grounding sheets, which means that the sheets are plugged into a grounded outlet or a grounding rod that you would put through your window and plant it into the soil outside of your home. And it simulates your bare skin touching the earth, which is very, very down regulating for the nervous system. There's a ton of studies on it. If you go on YouTube and you look up Earthing the movie, there's an hour-long documentary by a man named Clint Ober who founded the research behind how powerful it is to ground with the earth. So we've been so far removed from that because of our lifestyle that it's actually contributing to our chronic inflammation and stress levels. So those are some of the exercises that I like to give my clients as options to begin gaining a sense of calm throughout their day. It's, there's always mental, emotional, and physical reasons why we have stress. And I feel that it's really important to work with a practitioner who's able to help you in a holistic, well-rounded way. Holistic meaning mental, emotional, physical, not just holistic meaning natural. So yeah, that's, I feel like, a really good overview of how to begin taking your power back in the sense of being stuck in a state of fight or flight or chronic stress.
I think these are great tips, which it's very easy to do all these, all the steps that you talked about. Most of us know yoga, like as a whole, that yoga is beneficial, but what is important is, what do I do in yoga that's going to help me, right? And to your point, simple steps like cat and cow, and then deep breathing. Then you talked about shaking, and then combining it with humming and EFT. Most of us don't understand what EFT can help us with, but tapping and even the acupressure points, right? I just
Yep.
wanted to do that.
Mhm.
It's got the same kind of a concept that, you're pressing on the meridians, right? So
Yes,
all these things, exactly, all these things can help all of us regulate our nervous system, which is so much needed. Anything else, Nikki? I know you have a course and all the kind of things coming up. Do you want to add anything before we wrap up today?
Yeah, so I do have a course coming to your platform. It's called Physical Foundation. So it is going to be teaching you guys how to optimize the pillars of physical health, which in my experience personally and professionally, I feel that that is sleep, hydration, digestion, and our drainage capacity, or our body's ability to detox effectively. Now, all of those pillars have a lot to do with our nervous system. If those areas are optimized, that also creates opportunity for our nervous system to downregulate. And I have in the course some of these tips on nervous system regulation embedded throughout. But nervous system regulation, I feel like, is really the fifth, if not the first pillar. So those would be the five. And yeah, I'm excited for you guys to experience that course. It's pretty foundational when you're looking to optimize your health.
And we need the foundation. Without the basic solid
Yeah.
foundation, we cannot build on that, as we know that. Well, thank you so much, Nikki, for being with us and sharing these little simple tips that anyone can do. For all of you, keep supporting us. We are finally launching our platform within this month, end of this month, which will be available to everyone with really simple tips that everyone can do to start improving their holistic health. That's what we are talking about. With that, namaste, and have a great weekend, everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.